And welcome back to Mine is the Fury. Of course, I am Eric, and I am going to be reviewing Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 4, The Spoils of War. And holy shit, yes, that all happened. What an episode. Wow. First, as always, just a reminder, make sure you follow Honest Jack, DTV, and everything at Odd Shape Channel. Links to their content will be in the description below. Holy shit, as I said, big episode, big action. So I want to start. We see Jaime and Bronn. You know, this is after they've taken Highgarden, and it's great to hear Bronn finally talk. It's his first speaking line of the season. He's funny as always. He's talking to Jaime. Jaime gives him gold, and the Lannisters, that's what they're doing. They're traveling the gold from Highgarden back to King's Landing to pay off the Iron Bank. And, you know, Bronn is his usual funny self, making jokes, wants a castle. And I will get back to them later in the episode because a lot more happened with them. Just wait. But next I want to get to King's Landing. So we have Cersei. She's talking to a representative of the Iron Bank. And the Iron Bank, you know, they're pretty much willing to back her as long as they get their payment and their gold, which is very important. Because that's what they're all about. They're all about money. It's an institution that's built on money, and whoever they think is going to get them the most money is who they're going to back. So right now it looks like they're going to back Cersei, but I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But that was pretty much it with King's Landing. It wasn't a lot with that, but there was a lot going on in Winterfell. Someone returned, which I will get to. But first, Littlefinger has a scene with Bran. Bran is now, of course, the three-eyed raven, completely cyborg-like, doesn't have any emotion. But what does Littlefinger give to Bran? The cat's paw dagger that was used to attempted to kill Bran, someone back in season 1. He gives Bran the dagger, and he's trying to work his magic a little bit on Bran, but Bran gives him a little bit of a wake-up call, and he says to him, chaos is the ladder, and that, of course, is an echo to something that Littlefinger said back in season 3 to Varys, so Littlefinger knows Bran clearly has some kind of visions and stuff and can see stuff that has happened, so that is very, very fascinating. In comes Mira Reed, who helped get Bran to the wall and back to Winterfell, and she wants to go home, and she wants, she says goodbye to him, and he just says, to her coldly, like, thank you, and she's like, that's all you have to say? My brother died for you. Hodor died for you. Summer died for you. All these people died for you. Show some emotion here. But Bran is just not, and she says to Bran, you died in that cave. And it's kind of like he really kind of did, to be perfectly honest. Bran's getting on my nerves. But more stuff happened at Winterfell, some great stuff. Arya returned. It was magnificent. She at first couldn't get into Winterfell. The guards didn't believe who she was. She's asking for Sir Roderick and, Maester Luwin, who were both killed back in season 2. She doesn't even know that they're dead. So they tell the Stark guards, go get the, Lady Stark, Sansa. Tell them her sister's here. She takes off. They're like, the guards are like, what the hell's going on? They tell Sansa this, and Sansa says, I know where Arya is. Where is Arya? She's in the crypts of Winterfell visiting Ned, which is very sweet. Sansa comes, and they have a nice reunion. Arya herself is a little, she's basically like Stoneheart, but she has more expression than Bran certainly has. So they have a nice reunion. They catch up. They both say both their stories are terrible, which is true, especially in Sansa's case. She jokes and says, when Jon sees you, his heart's going to stop. Of course, that actually happened. His heart stopped back in the season 5 finale when he was killed. But it was a nice reunion. I liked it. And later on in Winterfell, Bran and Podrick are seeing the reunion, and Brienne, kind of feels some pride about seeing all the Starks together, and, Podrick even jokes and says, you're good, my lady, and she goes to say to Podrick, I'm not a lady, but then she stops herself and she says, thank you, Podrick. So Sansa takes Arya to see Bran. She informs him someone else's home. It's Bran. She hugs Bran. Bran, of course, no expression again, but tells her he saw her at the crossroads, and most importantly, he gives her the Valyrian steel dagger Littlefinger gave to him. Cat's paw. I think that's going to be very important personally. But then Brienne's training with Podrick. She's trying to make him a good warrior, which I really want to see. But then Arya comes and says she wants to train with the person who beat the Hound, which of course was Brienne. And they have a little training session with Sansa and Littlefinger watching all the action, which was cool. And Arya's good. I mean, for getting her butt kicked all that time from the waif in the House of Black and White, I guess taught her some stuff because she's matching Brienne. She's beating a couple rounds, beats her, and they just start to go at it, and it's so much fun to watch. Brienne out of frustration kicks her. Then at the end, very last second, it was kind of like a draw. Arya gets the dagger on Brienne, Brienne gets the sword on her, and Brienne says, "Who taught you this?" And Arya gives a perfect answer and says, "No one." So it was great to have Arya back at Winterfell. I love that part of the episode. Good stuff. So, next I'm going to go to Dragonstone. So, basically, Dany and Missandei are talking. Missandei misses Grey Worm, and it's kind of a funny scene. But then Jon says he has something to say to Daenerys. He takes her into the caves where the dragon glass is, which was pretty cool. And then he shows her these writings on the wall. The children of the forest, the first men. And Daenerys says they fought against each other, and Jon says no. Takes her further into the cave, shows her White Walkers on the caves, and says they fought against their common enemy, the White Walkers. And finally Dany says, "I'll fight for you. I will fight for the North, but only if you bend the knee." And Jon's like, "My people will never follow a sovereign queen after everything they've been through." And she's like, "They will if their king does." And she says, isn't their safety more important than your pride?" And that was a callback to what Jon had said to Mance, the King Beyond the Wall, in the season 5 premiere, when he basically said when Stannis wanted Mance to bend the knee, and Jon said to Mance, "Put aside your pride, do what's best for your people." So it was kind of an interesting callback to that scene. But they're interrupted. Varys and Tyrion have something to tell Dany. They're like, "We've taken Casterly Rock, but there are problems here. We lost Highgarden, and we're in big trouble." And Daenerys is pissed, and she's really pissed at Tyrion because she's like, "Your strategy has failed." And Tyrion's like, "I'm sorry to underestimate enemies." And she stops and says, "Our enemies, your family, you mean?" She asks Jon, "What should I do?" Jon says, "Don't be like everybody else. If you take your dragons into the Red Keep, you'll just be more of the same. Do something else." Which he does, which I'll get into in a little bit. But something else that happened at Dragonstone. First, Davos and Jon have this really fun scene when Davos kind of picks up on the fact Jon kind of likes Dany, even though Jon says he has no time for it. And then there was a wonderful callback. Jon says, "How many less men do we have to face the Night's King?" And Davos says, "Fewer," which of course is a callback to what Stannis taught him when Davos said less. It taught him proper grammar, and it was such a touching scene for me to see that Davos remembers his king and his friend. That was great. Then they talked to Missandei, have a nice scene where she explains they pretty much did choose Dany to be their ruler. A lot of good stuff. But then they see a Greyjoy ship approaching in the distance. And who is it, of course? Theon Greyjoy, who has not seen Jon since season 1. And Jon is pissed at him. He grabs Theon and he says, "The only reason you're alive right now, and I'm not killing you, is because of what you did for Sansa." So there was a reunion right there. Wow. Again, great stuff. But to the super good stuff in the episode I'm going to get to right now. So back to Jaime and Bronn. They're talking about their victory. They're informed that most of the gold made it back to King's Landing. But then Bronn hears something in the distance. He hears horses, and it gets closer and closer. They get all the whole Lannister army that they have. They get to form up. Who is it? But who's coming after them? It's the Dothraki, Dany's army, and Jaime says we can hold them off. But then Dany comes in with Drogon, and she starts kicking just ass, burning the Lannister soldiers, all over the place. Everyone's burning. Jaime's freaked out. Bronn's freaked out. It's absolute chaos. So one trump card that they have, though, is they do have that weapon Qyburn had made that will shoot like a giant spear and supposedly kill the dragon. So Braun goes to get that, and while he's doing that, he almost dies himself a bunch of times. Jaime's fighting, trying to keep order. And Jaime, I have to say, showed a lot of real bravery in this episode. I have to give it to him. But Braun gets on the Scorpion, that's what it's called, the machine. He misses the first shot at Drogon, but then he hits Drogon with the second shot, which sends Drogon down. Doesn't kill Drogon, but wounds him to the point Drogon has to come to the surface, but Drogon destroys the Scorpion. Braun just makes it out in time. But who's watching all of this? Tyrion. And he does not look happy seeing all these Lannister people that he probably knows burn. He's not happy about it. He sees Jaime, and he doesn't want Jaime to die. He loves Jaime. Jaime set him free. And so basically, when Drogon is back down, Dany's trying to take that spear out of him. Jaime just says, the hell of it, I am going to kill Daenerys. He picks up a spear and he starts charging at Daenerys. Tyrion's watching and says, oh, you fucking idiot, don't do this. Jaime gets closer and closer, and right before he's about to hit Daenerys, Drogon turns his head to Jaime and is about to kill Jaime. Who saves Jaime? Bronn pushes them both into the water. Jaime starts to sink. It's absolute chaos, but the whole sequence was fantastic. Field of Fire 2.0, people are calling it, and I agree with that. One of the best of the show. Absolutely terrific. I kind of really did think Braun was going to be the one that died, but he made it out. But we'll see what happens. I don't know if Jaime's going to be Dany's captive. That could be very fascinating. But overall, this season just keeps trumping itself over and over and upping the game, and I absolutely love it. It's been fantastic. I can't wait for next week. So I want to thank all of you for listening to this review. Again, great episode. The season's been just amazing. I'm loving it, and I'll catch you guys next week.